I kept trying to help him with his business. I kept trying to make his favorite meals. I kept showing up for sex, even though I felt so unwanted, and unappreciated. And it was just starting to get pretty miserable. I screamed at the top of my voice, I hate this marriage. I said, I hate this. I can't do this anymore. I hate being married. I hate this marriage. I hate everything it is. I'm screaming this and I'm shaking.
Warning, listening to this podcast is going to make your marriage irresistible. Whether you're exhausted from carrying everything and just want him to step up and be a real partner, or you're lonely and longing to feel close and adored again, that's totally fixable. I'm Laura Doyle, creator of the 6 Intimacy Skills, and for 27 years, I've been watching women go from burnt out and disconnected to having the passionate, easy marriage they always wanted. Love is learnable, the secrets are real, and this is where I teach them. So glad you're here. Stay to the end for your Try It Tonight takeaway. I'll show you the surprising experiment that changed everything for Lena and why it worked when years of counseling didn't. Real women, real marriages. This is the Empowered Wife Podcast. Lena, welcome to the Empowered Wife Podcast. I'm really excited that you're here.
I'm excited too. I'm a little nervous and I'm excited.
Well, I think it's really normal to be nervous. It's a big deal what you're doing here, sharing your story, which I can't wait to hear. So how did you know your husband was the one? Like, what attracted you to him?
Okay, so my husband, I met him the day after I turned 36 years old. I had just broken up on my birthday with this just awful, I was just in this awful relationship and I had just ended it. And I thought, I just turned 36. My gosh, it's never going to happen. I'm never going to be a mom, never going to find my guy. And I had been dating like it was my job at that point. And I joined this paid online dating platform. And I got all these weirdos flooding. This is the night of my 36th birthday. I got all these strange people matching with me. And I emailed the company. I said, please just refund me because I had 24 hours to get a refund. So just refund me. And then I got on my knees and I just said, God, I feel like you want me to stop. I think you want me to stop dating. If you want me to just let this go, can you just make it really clear I'll let this go? Because I'm done. And if not, give me I just was like, make it clear if you want me to keep going because I am so over this. And the next morning, I got this message from my husband and he was like this dream profile. I mean, it was this long, thoughtful, beautiful message about my faith, about his faith, about the desert, because he could see that I had photos in the desert. He had photos in the same desert. He was so handsome. He was the dream guy. And I emailed the the dating platform and I was like, never mind, do not cancel. And yeah, he was just incredible. Like the first date we had, I felt like I met my best friend. I felt like he was the male version of me. And I was so at ease. He just felt like an old friend. It didn't have this nervous energy with him. He wasn't intimidating, but he also had this, I don't know, presence. I just adored him. He had so much integrity. He lived 40 minutes away. He would drive 40 minutes to pick me up. He would show up with flowers. He would open the door for me. We would drive to a restaurant he picked out or a date he picked out. He would tell me to sit in the car and he would walk all the way around so he could open the door for me to get out. And he didn't even drink. And I remember on our third date, I ordered this very specific glass of wine. At that time, I was drinking. I don't drink anymore, but I asked for it to be bold and smoky and all of this. The next date, he showed up with that exact bottle of wine for me.
My gosh. You
And
memorized. He's,
yeah,
like, taking notes.
yeah. And he was just like that. Um, he wanted to wait until marriage just like I did. That was the first time I met somebody that had those values. Even before he met me, he made that decision, 7 years before he met me. He had been dating also like it was his job. And just kept cycling through and just like, "This woman's not for me, this woman's not for me," and he met me, he wanted to get married right away, right away. Like, we
Wow.
got married 4 months after we met each other. If it was up to him, we would have gotten married 8 weeks later.
Wow. Oh my gosh. That must have felt so good. Like, the relief, joy,
Yeah.
yeah, romance.
I was the
Like,
one saying, "Wait, wait, can we hold on just a little bit?" And I did usually I was the one wondering, like, when are we gonna define the relationship? It was so different with him. And, gosh, yeah, he encouraged my business. I had a business. He's an entrepreneur and I had a business at the time and he loved my art. I was an architect. He adored the work I did. He, right away, even before we got married, wanted to invest 10 grand into me getting coaching to grow my business. He wasn't intimidated by me at all. Um, he was just everything. He was a total package. He was very like soft and kind and sweet, but he wasn't a pushover. And at the same time, he was like this business guy who ran the successful company, had his life together, and could just take care of things. Like he's also this guy, like this kind of blue collar guy that could fix anything. Anything that's broken, he could fix it. Um, his best man told a story at our wedding of him starting a car that broke down in the middle of the desert with a dime.
wow.
But he's just kind of legendary. He was just a dream. Yeah.
Sounds amazing. Sounds
Yeah.
wonderful. And he's crazy about you, so what could possibly go wrong, right?
Right. Everything.
Everything, okay.
So literally everything went wrong. um, the night we became intimate, which was the day we got married. So we eloped. He just couldn't wait. And I told him, that's okay. If you can't wait, like, you just tell me when, I'll be at the courtroom. We'll have a celebration for our family afterwards. So yeah, one day he showed up at my office and said, today's the day. So yeah, I was like, okay. So I had an employee at the time. I told her, I think I'm gonna go get married right now. I see you later. I mean, we went to the courthouse. We got married, and that night we were intimate, and it was so weird. I was so anxious. I was so nervous. I was just like locked up. Um, I had an awful stomach ache, and how uncomfortable that can be, like being intimate with an awful stomach ache. That's kind of the moment everything changed. In the dating phase, we couldn't keep our hands off each other. We could not wait to be together. And now suddenly I felt so much pressure. I felt so much anxiety. It felt like an obligation. Um, we were intimate like multiple times a week. I mean, throughout our whole marriage, but he wanted it every single day. And I thought, yeah, I'm going to want it every single day too. But I didn't realize some days I'd be tired or some days I'd be stressed out about this new marriage or whatever it was. Um, or I didn't feel pretty or I didn't feel cute and I felt gross or whatever it was. And he was so disappointed. Um, I would try really hard to meet his expectations. I tried really hard to control the situation. Like I would try to look really beautiful and maybe if I get my nails done and maybe if I have a bath before we're intimate and if I have the setting just right, it'll be wonderful, but it wasn't. Like, no matter what I did, he was always disappointed with our sex life. And it just never was good enough. And over time, his frustration turned fairly quickly into anger.
Oh, gosh.
It was probably, it was only maybe 2 weeks after we had gotten married. He told me that I tricked him into marrying me
Oh,
and that
oh,
if he had sex with me before we got married, he would never have gone through with it and he would have never married me.
oh, oh my gosh. And this must have felt like total rejection. It was total rejection.
I
Awful.
was so devastated. Like, what, that heaving, crying, devastated. That was how I felt. And so of course, that makes me even less open to be intimate.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
that's not improving things at all. No.
Right. So I feel even less safe, like, emotionally safe. And I we're still I'm still going for it. I'm still thinking like I could fix this. I could turn this around. Um, but it just was always awful. And he would storm out and just get so mad. And I would pursue him and try to get him to come back. It was just such an awful dynamic, the complete opposite of how it was when we were dating. Um, when we finally had our ceremony in front of all our friends that morning, he told me he wasn't even sure he believed the vows he was supposed to say. Yeah.
Ouch. Ouch. Awful. Awful. Oh, devastating. Heartbreaking. Oh,
Yeah. At the same time, everything was okay. So, also a big thing. Um, when we met, he was a part of this church that believed because I went to a different church, I wasn't a Christian and that I wasn't saved. And they had rules that you had to only date within your church, that specific church, which I think is kind of culty. But anyways,
yeah.
so he had already kind of been looking outside of his church before he met me. But, when he met me, that was the first time he thought, he wanted to marry this girl he met that didn't go to his church. And he thought, okay, well, when we get married, you can come to my church. and, and I thought, there's no way on God's green earth I'm going to that church. They don't even see me as a Christian. They don't even approve of our marriage. This is when we were dating. Said, like, yeah, there's no way. That's
About feeling judged a little bit, huh?
Yeah, not
Yeah.
welcome there. Why would I go there?
No, no. Yeah.
And um, that made him really upset, and which really confused me because I thought, well, you don't even you're the one that dated outside of your church. Like, what do you expect? Why do you want to go back there? You when you were rebelling against this place anyway. But yeah, he just got really upset, but he acquiesced and he started going to my church. But when he did, everyone that he had known for 7 years left him. They all just abandoned him. All his friends, his pastors, his mentors, he lost all of them. They just shut him out.
Wow. Wow. That's rough.
Yeah. So yeah, in marriage, he's upset about this sex thing and he's also just depressed. He doesn't have any friends and everything in his business kind of seemed to be falling apart at this time as well. He'd just come home and complain about his work all the time. He had really awful stomach, like IBS, and was really specific about his food. He only wanted to eat chicken, rice, and broccoli every single night. So I would make that for him, even though, like, to this day, that meal, just, I don't want to eat that. I'm a foodie.
No, no.
I like making lots of different kinds of fun meals and going out to eat and trying new things. And He was very strict. He only wanted that meal for every single night, the same thing. Every breakfast, you eat the same thing. So I just kept trying all these things. I kept trying to help him with his business. I kept trying to make his favorite meals. I kept showing up for sex, even though I felt so unwanted, and unappreciated. And it was just starting to get pretty miserable.
It sounds miserable. It sounds awful. Wow. So what did you think about marriage counseling or
Yeah, we did. Oh my gosh.
okay.
Yeah, well, actually, he was the one that really wanted counseling, which I know is probably not as common, but yeah, he wanted to do marriage counseling. We saw 3 different marriage counselors over the course of a year and a half, almost 2 years. Um, it was I, in my heart, kind of knew that this wasn't gonna work, and I told him too, because I had done it in the past. Not I've never been married, but I did it in a long-term relationship, but yeah, so he really wanted to do that. The first counselor was someone I picked, and it was awful. So he found someone else, and they would give us these frameworks, how to communicate, how to talk to each other, how to resolve conflict. I would literally print them out and kind of tape them on our walls. And we'd get into these arguments, and I'd pull out the paper and be like,
You're
what
supposed
I'm
to say
supposed
it
to
like this,
say.
right?
Yeah. He would just throw all the rules out the window, just would never follow the framework. And
Uh,
I'm
yeah.
thinking, this is so frustrating. This isn't working.
Not working. No. No.
No, one of them was a sex therapist. So we had to share. I dreaded these counseling sessions so much. He was an older man. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with him personally, but I just hated it. I did not want to talk about my sex life with this guy. It really weirded me out.
Yeah. I can imagine, yes. Oh,
It
no.
was awful. We did so much counseling. There were a few gems, here and there. Um, they were all Christian counselors. They were all for our marriage. Um, at one point, I did see somebody step on my own, and from the we had one session, and I quickly realized that she wasn't for this marriage. She thought he was an awful person. She thought he was an awful person. She thought, yeah, but that didn't work out. But some of the counselors, they had a few gems that helped us out, but nothing was transformative. Nothing really took us out of the cycle we were in. Yeah.
So oh, wow. Now this is really hopeless because 'cause you've been to all the counselors, and it sounds like it was still, struggling. Your marriage is still struggling, it's still painful.
Yeah. I remember telling him, like, you idolize sex. Your idol is sex. One of the counselors kind of asked him, like, is that true? And he was like, yeah, I guess so. I think one of the counselors also asked him too, did you just marry Lena just to have sex with her? And he goes, yeah, maybe that is just why I married her. Um, and I just remember
Gosh.
I remember seeing the look on this counselor's face, like, who is this guy? Why would how could he say that?
And now it's pretty crushing for you to hear too, like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, I thought he chose me,
It
not
was
just
crushing. Yeah.
crushing."
There were a few good moments. I mean, I remember at one point, one of the counselors said, Lena, just because he's treating you this way doesn't mean you can't treat him well. That's not how this goes, you know? And that really stuck with me. It's like that there's some wisdom there. And, I think sometimes when we were at a stalemate, sometimes it helped having a mediator in the room when things just felt like they couldn't, like we were so stuck in the same pattern. So it wasn't all bad, but yeah.
So there you still are though, eating your, chicken and rice and broccoli and, having, like, all this tension around sex and also just kind of a day-to-day feeling of rejection, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah, awful. So, was there a point where you thought, "Okay, we can't go on like this?"
Yes. So I got pregnant right away, and that's when things really began to take a turn for the worst. So my pregnancy was a little bit scary. When I went to the doctor to hear my baby's first heartbeat, they didn't hear it, and they thought maybe I was miscarrying. So just to be safe, we came back a few weeks later, and there was my son's heartbeat. um, but the pregnancy was a rough one. I think we both think that our fighting really hurt our baby in utero. Um, our baby came a few weeks earlier than he should have, and I thought I was going to lose him in delivery. Um, but he was fine. He came out just a little bit early, but he was fine, a little bit premature. But oh my gosh, as a new mom, I'm an architect. I like things very orderly. I like things controlled. I'm a planner. That is not how motherhood is. That's not how babies are. Um, my child had a hidden tongue tie that we couldn't figure out for many months. So I was nursing him 24/7, around the clock for hours. I would nurse this child and for months, and my nipples were bleeding. I was tied to a chair. I my baby was still my baby was losing weight, not gaining weight, and my
Oh,
supply was going
no.
down, not up, and I was losing my mind.
Yeah.
My child was colicky, allergic to so many different things. He would lose his breath sometimes and kind of gasp for air, which really scared me. Um,
Terrifying.
and then eventually, when we finally figured out what was going on, we moved to formula. Anyways, but I had this crazy hormonal dip when I did that. I think yeah, my hormones were just out of control because of everything that was going on, and I developed something called postpartum OCD, which is a personal hell I wouldn't wish on any woman. It's basically this intense fear that I'm going to harm my child if he's alone with me. So I would just be in a panic. I wouldn't go on the freeway with my child. I wouldn't let myself be alone with him. I also just had a general panic that something was going to happen to him. So if we were, if my husband and I were being intimate, I would stop in the middle and go check on my child and make sure that he was okay, that he was still sleeping, that he was still breathing. I lived with this constant anxiety.
Ugh, terror. Yeah. That sounds awful. So heavy. So
It
hard.
was, it was really dark. It was really dark. Um, I would, I really wanted to be a really amazing mom. Um, and I wanted to give my child this amazing childhood. And, so I researched everything. I didn't, I wanted to give him a childhood I didn't really have. So I did all this research and I read all these books, and I had all these rules for us. And my husband he would just dismiss them. He would say, like, oh, the baby's crying. You should let him cry. That's how he'll develop character and resilience. And I'm thinking, he's 4 months old. Every single book tells me that's the absolute worst possible thing a mother could do to her child. Every book tells me that. And he would say, you're just dismissing me. And I would think, well, what's your opinion based on? Nothing, just something you came up with in the moment. I'm reading all these books. I'm actually educating myself. Where do you? And I would try to get him to read books. And this kind of went on where I just, I just was so frustrated with him. Um, I, at one point, he even told me he wasn't sure he loved our son.
Whoa.
um, when our son was just, an infant, and I thought, what kind of monster doesn't love their own
Monster. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Hard.
I was doing everything at that time. I had a business I was still running. I was still making chicken, rice, and broccoli. I was doing the night feedings. We were still, still showing up for sex, all the time. And, um, he was just so unappreciative. He would come home from work and he would criticize me in front of the nanny and berate me over something like really small. It would like if I left the door open and the AC was on, or if I went a little bit over budget, like if I went $50 over budget, um, he would just come home so angry and just put me down, and it felt so disrespectful. Um, I felt like he was a misogynist. I felt like he didn't value women. He didn't value mothers. He didn't value my role at all. Felt like he thought he was more valuable than me, and more important than me. Um, One day he had hired a mentor at that time, and they had this exercise where he was told to write down all of his thoughts in the morning and then shred them in a shredder. And I knew they were always about me and how much he regretted marrying me. And one, one morning he left his note on our kitchen table. He didn't shred it. And I read it, and it was awful. It was like, I have to leave her. If I only married, someone that was part of my church, um,
Oh,
it it would have been a good marriage. Yeah, she's not even a real Christian. When he left his church, when we got married, he had decided that he no longer believed. That was another thing that really freaked me out. Like, we had just gotten married, and all of a sudden he's not even a Christian anymore. Doesn't even believe in God.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh,
So I'm also reading this note thinking, well, you're not even a Christian. Why do you care if I
it's in your church. Yeah. Yeah.
um anyways, this note broke my heart. Um I would bottle everything up, and then, I would explode. And there was this one time, I just thought, you can only push a woman too far, she's going to explode. And there was this one time when he came home, he was telling me how unappreciated he was, and all of this and all of that. And I just started snapping and rolling my eyes. And I looked at our son and I said, I'm so, I'm so sorry. Your dad is such a piece of. And I said it kind of when he wasn't fully in the room, and I kind of whispered it, but he he heard
You
me,
heard it.
and he came storming into the room. I thought he was gonna hit me. He was overcome with anger. And I went to our front door and I opened it wide open because I thought if our neighbors are outside there, he won't hit me if they can see him. And I screamed. Yeah, to this day I don't know who heard this because I screamed at the top of my voice, I hate this marriage. I just I said, I hate this. I can't do this anymore. I hate being married. I hate this marriage. I hate everything it is. Yeah, I'm screaming this. And I'm shaking, like fight or flight. I see it in my 2-year-old son sometimes. I'm in fight or flight. My whole body is just trembling. I can barely catch my breath. Um, that's when I think things felt really, really low. Yeah.
Terrible. So what happened? How did you get out of that?
Well, Oddly, I will say, whenever I had these breakdowns, he took them really well. He, I, there's something about my husband, he really values honesty, and he would just kind of look at me differently whenever I had these meltdowns. Now, I did not like having, I hated myself. Like, I hated that I told my son that. I felt so ashamed. I felt so undignified, like, talk about. And yeah, um, at that time too, he was always threatening divorce. He always said he wanted to get a divorce. I think at one point I even said, go for it. What's the difference? Like, you in my life or you out of my life? Like, you're not doing anything, anyways, like, go for it. But I did always kind of say, like, I want to be married to you. I was kind of on my high horse, like, oh, I'm a Christian woman. I believe in marriage. I'm not giving up so easily. I don't give up quickly like you do. So if you
Oh,
want,
yeah, yeah.
I'm right
Yeah,
here.
I can relate. Yeah. I'm the righteous one here. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
That's pretty much how all our fights, yeah, went. Yeah. So then, yeah, one day I was praying the prayer I always pray, like, God, please, 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 like, change him, bring him back to you. Um, Bring him back to you, like, give him eyes to see you, like, turn him towards you, um, make it stop. And then I added this to this prayer. I said, if there's any part of this that's my doing, would you show me? Like, the next day, I came across an article you wrote on the internet that was pretty much saying that it was
oh, sorry,
that I
Lena.
was part of the problem.
Oh, it's probably painful too.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was probably some desperate search I did, like, how do I divorce my husband and keep my child and provide for my family and actually, how do I do this? And I think that's how I found an article you wrote, and one thing led to another, and I ordered your book. And while I waited for that to arrive, I ordered your audiobook because I just was so desperate. um, Literally a day or two after that, I was set to go on a girls' trip. It was my first time away from my kid, since I had him. So he was about a year and a half at that point. I My husband and I were still just in the most awful place. We didn't even sleep together the night before that trip. So I'm going on this trip. I live in California. We go to Utah, and I was still listening to your audiobook. I was intrigued. I was still so mad at my husband, so angry, so disappointed in our marriage. But it occurred to me I was alone with my girlfriends, and I put on something really cute. And I did my hair and I did my makeup. I thought, well, I don't have a kid right now. And I just got really cute. I knew we were going out that night. I mean, I almost didn't go because I was so devastated about my situation at home. I thought, no, I'm going to go out. We went out to dinner. A mutual friend of ours was there, and she took a photo of me and looking just so happy. And I was laughing. I was really happy to be with my girlfriends, and I felt really beautiful, and I looked really beautiful that night. And she sends it to my husband and me. She doesn't know anything about what's going on. So she's thinking this is just an innocent text. She's like, look at Lena looking hot tonight, and she texts my husband and adds me to the thread. And I'm thinking, ugh, she has no clue that we're in the middle of this giant fight. And he immediately hearts the photo and says something like, yeah, she's looking really beautiful.
Oh, wow, chills.
I thought, okay, maybe there's something to this whole self-care thing Laura is talking about. So yeah, I remember, talking to my friends that night. We were walking home from the dinner, and I was telling them about this book that I got, and they were like, "Okay, Lena, but um, be careful, because there's a lot of trad wife messaging out there, and there's some weird stuff out there. Just please be careful when you're reading this book." I thought, oh, okay, I didn't really, yeah. I thought that was kind of strange because I was telling them, this is all about how I'm supposed to take responsibility for my side of the street, and it kind of, the reaction that it brought out of them was not something I expected. It was kind of funny. So
Yeah.
anyway, I go home and I read this book and I do all the exercises, every single one, except for one, which was apologize for being disrespectful. I just couldn't.
Couldn't do that one.
I didn't
Yeah.
do that one, no.
Yeah. It's a tough one.
And things did improve. But we still had some dark moments, and I felt like even though I was changing, he wasn't. And I did feel a little hopeless. And I started tracking my progress. Something someone mentioned on one of the episodes was that they kept a miracle journal. So I started that because I thought, okay, maybe if I track it, I'll notice it more. And yeah, I did. I didn't really know how to do some of these skills. I remember self-care. I thought, how am I supposed to do this with an infant?
Yeah.
Um, or a 1-year-old at that time, but I just started really small. I'm laughing because now I have a 6-month-old and a 2-year-old, and my self-care is so much bigger than this, and it's so easy to do. But at the time, it felt impossible. So if I was getting groceries, I would just add 1 or 2 fun things for just me. That was what I did. Or I would um, just go outside and take a breath of fresh air. I'd have my shower just a little longer. That was all I could really think of. I just started small. I kept a diary at the end of the day that was like, what are the top 5 highlights of my day? And that helped me really narrow in on what self-care looked like for me. Um, yeah, I I told him I can't. I remember he wanted to go vegetarian and make
Is it just broccoli and rice?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
And yes, and now at this point, I'm feeding our 1-year-old and him and me, and I just said, I can't. And he said, okay, no worries, I'll make it when I get home. It's like, oh, okay, it was that.
Okay. You're
I
expecting an angry
was that?
response. It wasn't there. You were expecting an angry response? Or it
Yeah,
wasn't? Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Okay. So you're doing your self-care and you're honoring your limits with I can't. Yeah. Love it.
I remember. I remember he was watching TV on the couch, and I just said, I would love some popcorn. And I wanted to ask him, would you make me some popcorn? But I thought, oh, no, I'm going to try it the Laura Doyle way. So I said, I would love some popcorn. And I kind of thought I sounded a little crazy because, like, it's such a random thing to say. And that man turned off the TV so fast, got up, went to the kitchen, and made me popcorn.
Isn't that crazy? Love
Yeah.
that. So evidence that he wanted to make you happy.
Yeah, it was wild. Yeah, staying on my paper, I have an example for that. So my husband's job was to take out the trash. He had a lot of duties. That was one of them. He always took out the trash and he would forget. So I would go out there. Often I was pregnant and just kind of take the trash out on the curb, and I hated it. It was gross. It grossed me out. I'm pregnant. I don't want to deal with it. And, after reading your book, I thought, that's not on my paper. I'm not going to do that. And so he forgot. And my neighbor actually came out and told me, like, hey, the trash guy's coming. You should put your trash out. And I told her, that's my husband's job.
That's great.
And she goes, oh, okay, got it, So I just didn't put it out. And I thought, there was a part of me that thought, okay, that's actually kind of selfish. And, is he going to be mad? Like, why didn't you just put it out? I forgot. Why didn't you put it out for us? But he didn't say anything. He didn't say anything. And it happened one more time. He forgot to take the trash out. And I remember he came to me the next morning, like, oh man, Lena, I forgot to take the trash out. And I was like, ah, bummer.
I love it. So he was not blaming you. He was not saying, you should have done it. Why were you so rude? Why were you so inconsiderate? But he was like, this was my job and I forgot. He was
Yeah,
accountable.
yeah,
Wow, Lena. Love it.
yeah. And then he has never forgotten since. I
He has
don't
never forgotten since. He used to
no.
forget all the time. And now
Yeah.
he doesn't. Wow.
Yeah,
I love
I
it.
don't think he's forgotten since then. Um,
He's
yeah,
taking that
so
job pretty serious, huh? I love it.
I I remember I hear you. So he would, I would always interrupt him or tell him what I thought. He brought a business coach into my life, so I would always give him the lessons my business coach gave me. Um, when he came home, because he'd complain about the same thing over and over and over again every day for days and days and days. And I thought, surely I can fix this.
Help
So
him.
I started using I Hear You, and he would come home and he would tell me these stories, and I would just say, I hear you. I hear you. And then one day he just looked at me. He's like, you're not even listening to me. You're just saying, I hear you. And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, you're not saying anything. You're just sitting there, not saying anything. You don't even care. You don't even want to talk to me. And I was like, well, before I couldn't shut up and I just kept telling you what to do. And that was disrespectful. So I'm trying to shut my mouth and listen.
Great
And
response.
he goes, oh, okay.
I love it. So he noticed a change in the culture, but then you just explained, like, I'm trying to be respectful and listen to you. And then it was okay.
Yeah. And he was like, oh, okay. I was like, yeah, I'm trying to listen. And I mean, since then it was everything was a little rusty. I kind of fumbled around everything. But since then I know how to actually be a good listener, not just give them a blank stare and say, I hear you. But at the time, that's how it went.
Yeah,
Out.
it's a good start, Lena. It's a good start. I totally get you. You're probably thinking, you're listening, thinking, I know what he should do. I know what he should do. But your mouth is just saying, I hear you. I hear you. Right? Like when you first start.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, shut up, Lena. Don't say anything. Shut up. Nope. Don't say that. Don't say it. Just say, I hear you.
I love it.
So yeah, there was this one moment that stands out above the rest. We we were approaching the weekend, and I kind of dreaded the weekends because we spent them fighting, and usually about sex. And we had just been intimate, and I knew in my heart that he was disappointed with our intimacy. And I knew that that weekend he was going to be upset like about it all weekend. It kind of builds up. I knew it would build up and then blow up. And I just couldn't do it. I had just been taking care of this kiddo just all week and running a business at the time. And I the night the night before Saturday, I packed a bag with all my stuff, my makeup, a dress, blow dryer, shampoo, conditioner, because yeah, back in those days I didn't even know how to take a shower. I was just in survival mode caring for this little baby. So I woke up really early I woke up at like 5 in the morning and I made myself a cup of coffee and I had it outside. And then I woke our son up and I waited for my husband to wake up. And when he when he woke up, I told him, um, I can't be here like this weekend. I can't be here today. I'm gonna go and I just need to get out of here. Because I just knew it. I just knew I couldn't do it. And he's always been to this day. I mean, even back then, he's just like, yeah, go for it. Like, sounds good. You know, I knew he wouldn't um, take care of our son. That was something that I did, you know. So I grabbed our son, put him in the car. I drove to my mom's house and gave her my son. I went upstairs and she had all these fancy facial products. I gave myself this long facial, took a shower. I did my hair. I put on this gorgeous summer dress. And I was like, I'm going. I don't know where, but I'm going. So yeah, I dropped my son off with my mom and I got in my car and this is where it gets weird. I drove to the McDonald's museum 2 hours away from where I live. I just needed to drive. I just needed to go on a road trip. I needed to go somewhere. For some reason, that sounded exciting. So I drove 2 hours to San Bernardino and I listened to your podcast the whole way there. I went to the museum, which was strange, but whatever. It satisfied my need for adventure that day. I went, got back in the car, drove another 2 hours. My mom was having a family barbecue that night, and I thought, well, that sounds fun. I'm going to do that. Like, I'm not ready to go home yet. I don't want to go home. So I went to a market and got a bunch of treats. Back then, he was really critical of how I spent money, but I could always spend money on groceries. He didn't seem to care about that. So I was like, this is a grocery store. I'm going to get some treats from the grocery store and he won't be mad about that. And I'm going to go surprise my mom with some pastries and guacamole and I'm going to have fun at this barbecue. So I go and I'm having a pretty good time. And I get a phone call from him and he's like, where are you? I was like, oh, I'm at my mom's. We're having a barbecue tonight. And, this man, like for pretty much since the day we got married, he did not want to do anything on the weekends. He wanted to be at home watching TV or by himself on a hike. He didn't want to be with me. He didn't want to be with our son. He just wanted to be alone. Hated socializing. So he calls me, he asks me where I am, and he goes, Can I come?
Oh my gosh.
And I go, Yeah, of course you can come. Come on over. So fast, he was at my mom's, walks right over to me, gives me a hug, holds my hand the whole rest of the barbecue, talks to my family. Yeah, is playing with our son. And um, later that day or the day after, he looked at me and he said, um, I'm I don't want to show up the way I've been showing up to our family. I He said, I don't want to be that guy that withdraws on the weekends. I don't want to be like that anymore. I want to be there for you and for our son.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. You must have felt so good.
Mhm.
Oh, what a change. Incredible. And this was all from you just going to the McDonald's museum for the day and looking pretty. Like, yeah, giving yourself that facial and the treats and making Lena happy, you giving yourself self-care and just kind of getting back to you. And that was magnetizing, it sounds like.
Yeah, it occurred to me that I drew him in. I wasn't trying to. Uh,
No,
I just
no.
was trying to. all I knew was I didn't want to be at home that weekend. I just wanted to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
happy.
I gotta get out of here. I want to go somewhere. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's a great story. But I think what I hear in the story too is you knew it wasn't what you were trying to do, but you knew you did it too. Like you felt
Yeah.
empowered. Yeah. Like I know that this is my influence. It was my
Yes.
choices that led us to this spot instead of to the normal weekend spot, which was so stressful. So yeah, great story. Love it. I love it.
There's one more that story that really sticks with me. I really wanted a second kid. When I heard my son laugh for the first time, I thought, "Oh my gosh, I want 10 more of these." Like, it was the most beautiful thing. Motherhood was just the most beautiful thing. It was hard, but I loved it, and we had always agreed, like, when we got married, we wanted to have 2 kids, and, when I brought it up to him, he was like, "No, we're not gonna have another kid. I'm done." Um, and he's like, "There's no convincing me. It's over. Like, it will not happen." Uh It wasn't like, "Oh, let's it's open to discussion." It was like, "No, we are absolutely not having another kid. Like, bury the dream." And
Awful.
I was, I was devastated.
Yeah. It's crushing.
Yeah, I was devastated. I was at that time, I was, I guess, 37. I knew that I didn't have much time, and I was so heartbroken. And I knew that this was an area I had to relinquish control over. I kept trying, to convince him, or I thought I couldn't let it go. I just couldn't let it go. I wanted it so bad. And I just remember like going to church one day, and it was one of those days where all the families were up on stage and there were all these big families, and I went to the bathroom and just sobbed. I just thought I'm never gonna have that family, that big family I want. And I mourned it. I was like, okay, well, that's it, and I mourned it, but I kept the desire. The desire was still there, and I would tell him, "I really want another child. At the same time, I know you don't, and I respect that." And
Ah,
Well, yeah, and I just said, "It's okay. I am sad. I don't wanna lie to you and pretend like I'm not sad, but I also want you to know it's okay, it's okay. You know what's best, and maybe it is for the best that we don't have another child."
wow, Lena. That's like so generous and mature. Like it's so much self-control, so much respect in that.
Thank you. Yeah, and
Huge.
I remember telling my friends, they would be like, "And when are you gonna have another kid?" I was like, "Well, unless God can move mountains, unless a miracle happens, it's not gonna happen, you guys." Like, he doesn't want another child. Um, then sure enough, one day he comes up to me, "I think we should try for another child."
No way. No way.
Yeah,
What?
yeah.
What made him change his mind?
At the time he said like, "Oh, this could be fun." My kid was now he was a little bit older, maybe like 1.5 or something, and my husband and his son, they were bonding, they were connected. I didn't realize how different it must be, the infant stage. Like, I'm nursing and I'm with this baby, but there's not much, like, I understand now his perspective. There wasn't much connection they could have really had, but now they're talking, he's teaching him how to ride his little push bike, and, I mean, they're having so much fun, and he's like, "Oh, maybe this could be really fun." Um, I think also he told me later on he didn't feel like we could do it, like our marriage could handle it. But when he then, like, once he felt confident, like, "No, we can do this," he was ready.
So your marriage had gotten better by this point. Like things were feeling okay. Yeah. So what's your marriage like now?
Yeah, so my marriage is amazing. Um I love being intimate with my husband. I look forward to it all the time.
What? Wait a minute. Hold on. How did this happen?
My gosh. It's actually so funny. I remember when I was pregnant with our second, I remember at one point he was pretending to sleep so he didn't have to be intimate with me.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
I thought,
That's
oh, how have the tables turned,
that's
you know?
right. That's right. That's right.
Um, yeah, I can't get enough of him. Um, I I don't know. There's a lot. That's a whole nother podcast. That's a whole nother hour. But I would say I had to really reframe. Like when he wants to be intimate with me, it's because he loves me. It's because he desires me. I would listen to women on this show like upset that their husband didn't desire them, and I thought, gosh, like that's why am I taking this for granted? Like he really desires me. He thinks I'm so beautiful. Um, he wants to love me. That's his way of loving me. He wants to connect with me. I got really good at receiving. I mean, I think that intimacy is like, it's just 99% me just receiving pleasure and not performing or controlling, or it wasn't, I just received and he seemed to enjoy that. So it was win-win for us.
Love it. Love it. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a great transformation. That's an incredible transformation. Love that, Lena. Oh.
He, when he comes home from work, he will we'll have dinner. Then he takes our 2-year-old out on a father-son walk, and then he comes back, and then he gives him a bath, tucks him to bed, puts him to sleep. Then he goes to the kitchen, does all the dishes, and cleans the kitchen after dinner. Then he goes outside, cleans the cat's litter box, feeds the cat, changes the litter. Then he comes to me. And this whole time, I'm just, our newborns, our baby's sleeping at this point. I'm just taking a shower, reading a book, doing some journaling. It's incredible. He takes our son every other weekend camping, just them.
Gosh. Oh my gosh.
I don't know what man takes a 2-year-old camping on his time off.
Your husband does? Wow. That is what a difference from before he would not. He would not watch he wouldn't be caring for your son. So you get the weekend just with your baby while he's camping with your older child. Wow. So nice.
Yeah, he's so appreciative. I don't work anymore. I paused my business. I'm a full-time stay-at-home mom, and he comes home and I tell him, "Gosh, you work so hard for our family." And he really does. He single-handedly, I mean, California is not a cheap place to live. He single-handedly takes care of all of us. And I tell him like, "You do so much for us." And he just looks at me with complete like just so much genuineness in his eyes, and he goes, "It's a fraction of what you do for our family."
Oh my gosh. So there's a culture of gratitude in your home. You just both appreciate each other. This is this is the opposite of getting a letter saying, "I've gotta leave her, and this is terrible." Complete night and day. Wow. Wow. And he's an entrepreneur too, and, he was having all those challenges in his business that you were trying to help him with, which didn't work out, so he switched to I Hear You, but now he single-handedly supports the whole family.
Yeah. And I will say our circumstances, I was thinking about this, they're not easier. In fact, they're probably harder in a lot of ways. We, you know, we don't have as much support, so I do most of the childcare, and he also let go of a few people, so he does a lot of the work in his business that he used to delegate. I don't know, but and yet it's just different. He comes home, he doesn't talk about work. He he looks at peace. Things can everything can go wrong at work, and he comes home and he talks about it kind of with a little bit of humor, and we just move on. It doesn't shake him. He's so resilient. He's just so resilient, and I feel like I am too, you know? It's just so different.
You feel more resilient also. Wow. Oh, I love that. Wow. Well, this is incredible. Well, how do you think all this has affected your children?
Well, I do think, my second pregnancy, it's pretty crazy actually. So my second kid in God's perfect timing had the same exact due date as my first. Um, we got pregnant right away, just like before, and I kind of got this do-over. Like we got to be pregnant and do it all over every day over in a loving marriage. And we celebrated everything. We celebrated the gender, we just celebrated everything. And the baby came right on his due date, not early. There were no complications. I had no postpartum anxiety. Like this part floors me because it's such a gift. It's such a gift, but I got to just really enjoy my my time with my baby. Um, it was so lovely. It was like what it's supposed to feel like, you know? Um, I think on a very real level, I do think that because we were in a good place, the pregnancy was a healthier one. I really do believe that. Um, uh, yeah, yeah, I don't know, we both wonder sometimes, like our 2-year-old, he does have anxiety and that he deals with. And we do wonder, like, man, we wish we didn't fight so much around him. I know that we can still repair and we can still, heal some of the hurt that we caused. But we do really regret that. Um, I can't imagine like what the world must look like through his eyes now, but I imagine home is safer and joyful and peaceful, not so scary. Yeah.
Go camping every weekend? Is that Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's very sweet. I can tell you're a great mom, it sounds like he's a great dad. Um, and, I hear the regret, the things you didn't know. Nobody taught you right before. And, but I just also hear, like, this beautiful family life that you've created, and especially for your younger child, getting the do-over. It's so moving, and your older son also has this home court advantage, um, that, I give you all the credit for creating this beautiful family life. What would be your tip to somebody who is where you were, just completely miserable? There's fighting, he won't take care of the kids, the weekends are awful, um, the bedroom stuff is just like a tragedy, and she wants what you have, where, there's a culture of generosity. He always takes out the trash. He supports the whole family. He's thanking you for all that you do, and you are feeling so much at peace together. Like, she wants what you have. Yeah. What's your tip for her?
I think if somebody's listening that's in that situation, I think I just want to say that I'm sorry. That's the worst possible feeling ever. The man that is supposed to love you the most, maybe you don't feel loved by him. It's heartbreaking. It made me feel like maybe I really am unlovable. It is so dark and I wouldn't wish it on anybody. And it's such a dark walk to be in. Especially if you have a child too. Like what an immense pressure, what an immense responsibility to kind of feel like you have to carry that on your own. You feel like maybe your husband's not there for you. Um, Obviously my tip is to just read the book, do the skills. But if I had to offer something from my experience, it would just to be find a way to do it genuinely, even if it takes a little bit of time to figure out what genuine looks like. Um, my husband, I think the fake it till you make it. There's a time and a place for that too. Um, it's just my husband. He could see through me really quickly, and I had to be genuine. And it still takes some work. Um, every every night I write down 5 things that he did that day that I'm grateful for. And it doesn't work for me to say like he provided for our family. It's not a real I don't have a real feeling of gratitude in me. Like it just feels kind of like a blanket statement. I have to really think about it and then I'll come up with something like I called him when our son was having a tantrum and he stopped in the middle of his busy day, picked up the phone and listened to me and comforted me. And how amazing that he did that for me. Like, it takes little bit longer for me to get there, but that works for me, just like being genuine about it. Um, Even when we're like having an argument, or a disagreement, which they're so different now, our disagreements, but finding a way to be genuine, like, okay, you know what? I am, I am kind of I am being a little self-righteous right now. I'm sorry. You know, like, all right,
Oh,
I can admit to
wow.
that. Or, or yeah, or I can
Very
admit I
incredible.
did, yeah, like I did interrupt you, or I just have to find something, some truth and hold on to that. So yeah, I would say try to find a way, or even self-care. Like some things they just didn't feel like self-care. Like maybe they went to someone else, but they didn't to me. So I had to be really genuine and authentic about that. Like what actually feels like self-care? And then holding on to that, even if it looks so weird.
Right?
So yeah, just be
Going to
genuine and
McDonald's
authentic.
museums. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Really weird.
I I mean, I love this, and I especially think your, practice of writing 5 gratitudes a night is just tremendous. Like, I can really and I hear how much thought you give that, how much time you spend reflecting, counting your blessings and writing them down and being specific about them, and I just admire that so much. I think that's I mean, you have a lot of good habits now, it sounds like. That one really stands out as a game changer.
Yeah. It's so funny too, because I know if we have a disagreement, I can tell it's harder for me to come up with 5. It takes me a little bit longer. It's just I can tell my brain has been hijacked. And it takes work, but gosh, it's worth it because I feel so good at the end.
Yeah, it does take some focus. I mean, maybe you can read the ones from the day before. I don't know if that helps or not. Right? Like, oh, it's the same guy from but yeah, I love that. It's a great thing to call out because we've all been there, right? Where you think, "Who is this monster I married?" And then but then there's like this other perspective, which you're able to find, even though it can be hard sometimes. So, yeah, that's all you making the decision to have a great marriage. What would you say if you could go back and talk to Lena and tell her what you know now?
Really feel for her. It's such a hard time.
Maybe give her a big hug, huh?
Yeah, I feel for her. I cannot believe all of that I went through, like, yeah, I would just tell her, like, hold on, hold on. It's gonna get better, better than you could even imagine. Like, I just wanted mediocre. Um, couldn't have ever imagined like this. I couldn't have ever imagined like sex feeling like this. I mean, that felt impossible, or motherhood feeling like this, or marriage feeling like this. I would just say, hold on, like it's gonna get so good, so good. And the so good I would have thought back then is not even close to the so good it actually is, you know? Yeah.
You'd have to raise your sights up a little higher from where they were. Wow. And, and I it sounds like you feel, you mentioned you're feeling resilient, but it sounds like you also feel secure, like, if there is a breakdown and, I mean, no marriage is perfect, right? Mine's not perfect. If there is a breakdown, you know what to do. Like, you can get back to the good times.
He gives me so much assurance, so much, yeah, just so much security. Um, I remember even like I was really scared right before we had our second kid, and he held me and he said, I would never have wanted to do this if I didn't think we could do this. Like we can do this. Trust me. Like this is going to be great. Like he just, yeah, yeah. So I do feel empowered. I feel like, okay, um, yeah, I was just doing the opposite of what I was supposed to be doing.
Well, you didn't know. You didn't know,
There's a
right?
lot of bad advice out there. A lot of just really bad advice and masked as good advice. And it's like there's something so nuanced and subtle about what's bad about it too. You know, it's like it sounds good. It sounds good. Oh, communicate with your husband, express your needs, or whatever. It sounds great, but there's like something a little poison in it.
Yeah. Yeah,
um,
for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
I feel really empowered now that I can see that. Just have I have just eyes to see in a way that I didn't have before. So yeah, I don't feel worried about the future. My only worry is like, what if he, like, are we gonna? I hope we just live a really long life together.
Now you
Like,
want us to
don't
laugh.
go.
Yeah, yes, it's so good. Well, that's because you, gosh, you really threw yourself into learning the intimacy skills and practicing them, really well. Has your husband ever, like, acknowledged this transformation in you? Has he ever said anything?
Not really. He will now say, you did a lot of work on yourself. He doesn't really know what that is. Even when I told him about this podcast, he's like, "Well, what do you mean?" I was like, "Oh yeah, there's a podcast based on a book I read." He's like, "Oh, what book did you read?" I'm like, "I read this book." "Oh, what skills did you use?" "These are the skills I used." Like, "Oh." Like it's not.
It's cool. He just knows it's better and,
Yeah, he just knows it's
yeah,
better.
and he knows you worked on yourself, which is that's a pretty big acknowledgement.
Yeah, he knows I
There you
worked on
go.
myself. And he worked on himself too. Um, I, yeah, I think that the work that I did really inspired a lot of work that he did on himself, and he just knows that we have a great marriage. That's what that's what he says.
Well, I gotta congratulate you. I would like to give you my Best Wife Award, Lena. Congratulations. You win. I would like to acknowledge and celebrate you for this incredible transformation you've made for your whole family, right? 4 people's lives are deeply affected by your determination and commitment to creating a good marriage and becoming your best self. And I really hear how well you did that, and, I just wanna say it's exciting and inspiring to witness.
Thank you. Thank you. I love it. I love that award. It's so funny. I receive. Yes.
Well done, well done. Well, this has been, really uplifting and instructive. I think you went a long way towards, helping a lot of women fix their marriages today. So, thank you for this generous contribution. You've been with me here every week learning the secrets that happy wives know. So I want to invite you to come practice them in person with me at the Adored Wife Weekend. It's 3 days in Anaheim, California with me, our coaches, and a whole room full of women just like you. We're going to laugh until it hurts. We're going to dance to the 80s, and we're going to put these skills to work live. Your marriage is going to feel it. October 9th through the 11th, early bird pricing ends July 24th. So save $100 and register right now at adoredwifeweekend.com and come practice with us. I'll save you a seat. Okay, your try it tonight takeaway is self-care. And I don't mean 5 fruits and vegetables a day and 30 minutes of cardio. No, I'm talking about having some frivolous fun to make yourself happy. We're all going to be having some frivolous fun this week. And if you don't have time for self-care, well, I get it. That's stressful. You're doing a lot. But part of doing this experiment is getting creative about how to have some fun, finding a way to prioritize your happiness, like Lena did. In the midst of fighting, looking after her baby and feeling so anxious, Lena figured out something that would make her feel good. She drove 2 hours to visit the McDonald's Museum, because that sounded like a good time to her. Lena loved quirky roadside attractions, and for the first time in a long time, she started doing things that made her happy. She bought herself pastries. She ate guacamole. She went places she always wanted to go. And did you hear what happened? Her husband started noticing her joy. In fact, when a friend sent him a picture of Lena all dressed up, he immediately wrote back, "Yeah, she's looking really beautiful." What a turnaround. So, what's something completely frivolous that makes you happy? Maybe it's something you enjoyed doing as a child or before you were married or had kids. What's something that's joyful and fun for you? And if it feels a little silly, even better. If you want to practice this and other intimacy skills with my coaches and my community, join us for free at adoredwife.com, where we swap ideas on what brings us joy, big and small, free and indulgent. And we cheer each other on as we take our frivolous fun very, very seriously. Are you ready to try making yourself happy this week? You going to do this? Yeah? Okay, then go, go, go.